crowded beaches, traffic jams, open megachurches. Not exactly what you would expect in a country that just reported no new local coronavirus infections and only 4 imported cases. Yet this is South Korea, viewed by health experts as one of the few countries that did most things right from the beginning of the disease outbreak to flatten the curve and save lives. In the wake of an initial spike in infections in February, largely centered around a religious group in the city of Daegu, the country adopted widespread testing measures, pioneering the drive-through method of diagnosis that allowed for faster testing with less exposure that has now become common around the world.
Okay.
One that I had the unfortunate pleasure to experience.
Oh, that's really uncomfortable. Whew.
After a slight initial hiccup in supply, and after an apology from the government for that failure, uniformity in mask distribution, with mass availability and affordability, and aggressive contact tracing, social distancing, and quarantine enforcement.
The government mandated that I had to install an app on my phone from the South Korean Ministry of Health and Welfare, which forces me to conduct a daily health check and theoretically can track me if I don't cooperate.
The U.S. and South Korea both reported their first laboratory-confirmed cases of COVID-19 on January 20th. Since then, South Korea has reported just under 11,000 cases and only 247 deaths, and next to 0 new infections recently, while the U.S. now has a total of more than 1 million cases and more than 63,000 deaths, with new cases in many states still continuing an upward climb. A stark contrast between two nations who began the fight to combat the virus at the same time. Even more remarkable, while schools were closed and the public advised to avoid large gatherings, the country held a parliamentary election with the highest turnout in 28 years, and restaurants and shops have remained open throughout the pandemic. The Korean outbreak has so far proven to be much smaller and far less deadly than in countries like Spain and Italy, which eventually enforced full lockdown measures to quell the flood of illness that brought their healthcare systems to the brink of collapse. Despite what appears to be somewhat of a victory over the spread of the virus, the South Korean Center for Disease Control remains cautious. Amid concern for what the future may hold, the present feels pretty relaxed. A Golden Week holiday now bringing many South Koreans together, even though government guidelines advise them to celebrate apart. Ivan Watson, CNN.